Okay, so I have a new program to show you, and this one is kind of along the same lines that we've been doing with making a small calculation with a calculate button, but also I've added a new control here, which is the checkbox, and that's pretty easy to use. And you'll see this is a good place now that we're talking about decision making with the if-else structure. This is a good place to start looking at the checkbox. So this is for a phone company. And I'm pretending that this is a really cheap carrier and that the first 1,000 minutes a person can buy at a penny a minute. So the first 1,000 minutes is $10. And then after that, it's even cheaper, which we'll say a dime a dozen, which is not even a penny a minute. It's like 0.83 cents per minute. So it's a fraction of a cent per minute. So very cheap prices. And so why don't we test it out? So I'll buy 1,000 minutes. I just put this X there as a placeholder so I know where the display label is. In a polished final application, I would not have that there, but okay, let's do a buy now. So that's $10 for the first 1,000 minutes. So if I buy 2,000 minutes, that would be $10 plus $8.30, right? So it's $18.30. And let's say I want to add the text and data for $15, then I can add that. Now I'm up to $33.30. Don't worry about the missing zero here. There's really not an easy way to do that, so we'll let that go. But let's look at the code behind the scenes here. So, like probably the top half or so of this is setting it up is something that you've done at this point already, just kind of eyeballing it where we're going to put these labels. This is just a label, this is a label, this is obviously a text box. I think I'll start with the checkbox because that's new to you. So, you know what? Before I go into the checkbox, I want to show you something. This is just a nifty little trick that I use sometimes. You can take it or leave it. But this text here where we're telling the user how much everything costs, it's 2 lines of text. I put that in a single label. And what I've done is I just have a label. It's like maybe 50 pixels tall, so a little taller than I would normally make a label. Normally I'll do like a 25 pixels tall on a label. But this one is a taller label, and I have 2 lines of text in it with a line break. And I want to show you what I've done is you can get a line break from using our text.getCharacter. I've used that in a couple previous programs, like with making the smiley face or something. So you can provide a 10, that's the code for a line break. So I put that line break character into a variable called BR. I chose BR because, like in web design, you use BR to cause a line break. So I think a lot of users would be intuitive, or programmers, I should say, would be intuitive about that BR. So anyway, what I've done is I put that text in there. I put the first line is, obviously the penny a minute thing, and then I put the line break, and then after that it's a dime a dozen. So let's look at the effect of that. You have the first line, and then a break, and then the second line, all in the same label. There's the first line, obviously, and then it wraps to the next line, all in one label. It's fine. 2 labels would have been fine too. Okay, you do what you want, like as far as designing the form, the window itself. But that's a trick that you can use if you want to do a line break. Okay, so anyway, let's look at our checkbox here. Where the heck is it? Here it is. All right. So I'm calling it CHK add data. And we're using FC controls to put this checkbox in here. And all you have to, they're really easy to create. All you do, you don't provide sizes or anything, no pixels, just what you want it to say next to the checkbox, and that's it. Okay, and so here we're telling the user, obviously, that they can add these features for $15. And then I'm going to move it into position using fccontrols.move that you've done many times up at this point. Okay, and then let's look at the, I'm not using that. Let's look at the nitty-gritty, as I like to call it. When we click that Buy Now button, all the calculation takes place, okay? The Buy Now button. So first, I need to reach into that little text box, reach into here and get the minutes that the user has typed in. Okay, that's our first order of business. Once we have that, and then we can assess the checkbox, and we'll know how much the user is going to have to pay for the minutes. Okay, so getting the minutes out of that text box and putting it into a variable called minutes. Okay, so I'm saying if the minutes are greater than or equal to 1,000, then the cost they're going to pay is a penny a minute. And there's the calculation for that, 1 penny per minute. Or else, that means they're over 1,000. So we're going to charge them $10 for the first 1,000, plus this, which will calculate anything beyond 1,000. I said it was a dime a dozen, which is about this number here. Not quite. This is 1 cent here. This is not quite 1 cent. Okay, so that's the number you have to plug in there, and then we're multiplying that times whatever is beyond that 1,000 minutes. So I'm taking that first 1,000 minutes. So minutes minus 1,000 is going to get me anything beyond 1,000 that they want to buy. Okay, and I mean, I do have to worry about arithmetic order of operations here, so that's why that's in parentheses. Okay, all right. So anyway, that'll take care of the minutes, and then we have the checkbox. So here's how you can assess a checkbox. We use this method, fccontrols.getChecked, and then we provide the name of the checkbox that we want to evaluate. We only have one, obviously, and there it is. And what happens is this method is going to look at that checkbox and determine whether or not it's checked. If it's checked, it gives us a true with a capital T. That's important, capital T. If it's not checked, it gives us a false with a capital F. It's case sensitive, okay? So I'm saying if the result of this is true, with a capital T, that means the checkbox is checked and they want the $15 offer for the text and the data. So all I'm doing is adding the lump sum to the cost. So the cost is whatever it already is for the minutes plus this $15 add-on that the user wants to purchase. And then what I'm doing is rounding it to 2 decimals. I know we're not seeing the 2 decimals, but just rounding it and using that 3-step process that I discussed in an earlier video. And then displaying the result. Okay, again with a line break. Again with a line break. Okay, and that's it. Here's my wire up. I'm wiring up that button to the sub sandwich here, all the way at the bottom. But that's it. So what I want you to take away from this is really the checkbox. That's the new technique here. And just a little more practice with the decision making. You can see the logic, how you just kind of have to stop and think about what is going on here and then implement a decision structure. You have to do it slowly and just kind of think about what you're doing, but it will fall into place.